There's fire on my blood.
Ah, Sweden, home of the Vikings, caramel dancing, and that silly little chef from the Muppets. But it is also the home of the thriving aviation company that also used to do cars, Saab. They've made some rather famous planes that you may know, for better and for worse. I mean, come on, look at this chode MiG-15 looking at us. It's so fat, it's actually sat on its own engine. I mean, this stupid AWACS here just has a carpenter's pencil on the top of it. Like, what would they think when they were designing this? Whilst researching Saab aircraft, I found this cute little bastard. It's even known as the Little Draken. But none of the previous compare to the beautiful double delta silhouette of the J35XS. Oh wait, they changed it to the J35FS. Oh, actually it's been changed again during the making of this video now, and it's now the Saab J35XS again. Anyway, let's get to actually doing the video now instead of a fucking rant fest, yeah? Okay, cool. This plane is fucking fat bright because it fixes most of the problems with the other Drakens. The J35A, being deep fried dog shit, is basically an empty aluminium alloy skeleton with an engine run by huskies and reindeer. The J35D improves on this with a new engine with an extra 2 or so tons of thrust. The D also gets some better rockets and missiles, upgrading from the RB-24s, which are AIM-9Bs, to the RB-24J, which are of course AIM-9Js. So now you're probably wondering, if the J35D is so great, what's the point in getting the A? I'll admit, there's not really much point in getting the A, especially now that it's been discontinued from the shop. It might come back sometime during some form of Swedish holiday, for example, as they tend to do with Gaijin, but there's not really much point in getting it, as now the only premium Draken is the J35XS, which is better in basically every way, and I'm about to explain why. Now that's enough history. Just realised I've just talked for about 5 minutes worth of faff, whilst we haven't even touched the J35XS yet, so let's get into the actual review. The Saab J35XS, the Draken, the Draken, Potato, Dorito, however you want to pronounce it, is a tier 7 premium pack vehicle, and you can get from the Gaijin store for 63 quid or about $70ish. The price might be steep, but it is probably the best grinder for Sweden, and your only other choice for grinding is a Saab 105, which I'm not really a fan of myself. The J35 is also a very efficient silver line grinder. With the premium account, it has 795% silver line rewards, making it, along with the Kafir Canard and the F4EJ, as having the highest SL multiplier of all the tier 7 premiums. Now, one of the key selling points of the J35XS is it has something called IRST, which only one plane outside of the USSR in the game currently has, and that's the FAE. Now, what this does is it works a bit like radar, except it doesn't. It works completely differently. So IRST stands for Infrared Search and Track. Now what that does is it looks for enemy infrared signatures, so from their engines and afterburners for example, and uses that to track the plane itself instead of using radar. Now the advantages this has is numerous, in that it's immune to chaff, it's very resistant to flares as well, and can only really be tricked if another plane crosses the path in front of it. And another great thing is, since it's a passive track, it doesn't trigger any RWR signals, so the enemy plane does not know that you are locking it. And this especially fits the playstyle that I use with the Draken, in that I attack from top down to give myself the best chance of them not spotting me. At the start of the game, I personally climb to around 5 kilometers in the air, sometimes higher, all the way up to about 9ish sometimes in extreme cases. Now, IRST uses the same binds as your normal radar, so the only bind you need is the button to change between radar and IRST, and the ACM button. The lock button is only really useful if you need to switch targets, so you can press the button and it turns off your IRST, you press it again, it turns it back on, and you can use this to reset the target, say if you accidentally locked onto a friendly, or if it wasn't the person you were trying to lock onto. And much like radar, IRST also slaves your missile, so it points the seeker directly at where you're currently locked onto, and it makes firing off-bore shots with the AIM-9Js a lot easier, which you are going to need, considering they can't pull many Gs. Now this tactic for me has worked pretty well. The only things you really have to watch out for is F5C players. Because the F5 burners are so cold, you have to get quite close in order to get a proper solid lock on them. Now, just to clear up a couple of misconceptions with IRST, on the screen on the bottom right, unlike radar where it shows the angle from left to right and the range from top to bottom, IRST instead shows angle left to right, and angle top to bottom. And on this plane it does not show the closing speed or the distance from the plane it is. Another misconception is that IRIS-T can guide missiles. It does not guide them, it only can slave them, meaning all it does is it points the seeker at the target. Once the missile has been fired, it's on its own. Missile cannot be given mid-course corrections. Now onto the damage and flight models. Now due to the Draken's rather large wing area, it can take a considerable amount of damage and still have enough lift to fly. The issue comes that since it only has one engine, if you lose it, you're gone. Although the plane can fly pretty far with no power, and I have on multiple occasions landed with considerable damage to the fuselage and the wing. Even with a good amount of damage sustained, such as a wingtip broken off, the Draken still remains remarkably stable. However, even though it can fly itself in a straight line, try not to perform any extreme manoeuvres, as some actions like pitching up too much can roll you into a flat spin quite easily. So if you're trying to RTB with most of your wing gone, then it's probably best to treat it very gentle. However, the game has a very low bar for what it considers dead for this plane, in that if you even lose just part of your wingtip, it can declare you as dead, and if you touch the runway, you'll just get killed off by the game. Now, flying the Draken is one of the most unique experiences in War Thunder. Its double delta design allows it to pull high angles of AOA, and if you turn on sim controls, you can of course do the famous Cobra maneuver. However, do be careful when using full wheel controls, because like other deltas, you can lose control very quickly if you're not careful. Now, the Draken has some of the best maneuverability for almost anything in its BR, and in most cases above it. However, of course, if you do enter in a low speed dogfight to try and get the upper hand on someone, do be mindful around you, because since you're moving so slow, it makes you a much easier target to take down with guns or missiles. Now, the Draken can carry up to 6 AIM-9Js, which is, to be fair, quite a bit. So you can really just single every Tom, Dick and Harry that comes your way. Now, the AIM-9J, given a bit of height, can go probably about 3-4 kilometers pretty easily. Except, as I said, on F5Cs, in which from a rear aspect you can typically get around 2.5, 2 kilometers-ish of an actual lock, and then from then on you should be able to track them pretty well. Now, as with playing with most planes, the easiest targets are going to be your wallet warriors, as they are typically the most clueless people, as typically they don't remain as spatially aware as the tech tree players. So your A10s, your C25s, your A5Cs and your F5Cs. The only premiums you should really watch out for are your F4Ss and your MiG-23s, since they have very good radar missiles, and one of the only downsides to the Draken is it doesn't have any form of RWR. So you don't know if the missile that's coming chasing you is a radar missile or if it's a IR missile, up until you try and flare it. However, in my recent games, the F4S spam has died down quite a bit compared to when Sky Guardians first came out, so you may see a lot less radar phantoms. And considering you already have not that many flares, I would recommend you more use the standard flare loadout rather than using mixed flare and chaff. There's not much point with running flares reinforced, as the countermeasures are large caliber, so they can quite easily flare off even during afterburner sometimes. Not that you should, obviously. So as I said earlier, my typical plan of attack when flying the J35 is to fly quite high up and come around behind the enemy and use my IRST and my AIM-9Js to take them out from behind. So in the following clip, it shows me being one of the last people alive on our team versus the last two guys on the enemy team, one being in F5C and the other being a Jaguar. Now, with hindsight, I did do a few things wrong here. I should have waited a little bit longer before starting my turns, so I would have been completely behind them instead of only just barely behind them, because I was too close to loose off another missile towards the Jaguar. And then the mistake I made was trying to go for the F5 first instead of the Jaguar. As I'm sure you can tell, it took me a lot longer to get a lock on the F5 than it would have done if I had gone for the Jaguar first and then gone for the F5. However, if I did kill the Jaguar first and the F5 caught wise like the Jaguar did in this clip, I may have had to also try and shoot down the F5, but the F5 is such a small fighter, it's quite hard to hit sometimes. So I may not have been able to get the kill in the end if I hadn't done it this way. Anyway, for the moment, that's all I have to really say about the J35XS. It's all round a great fighter for its PR. Another quick note about the Draken, you can also put some rockets on it, so if you want some extra ground target kills, then you can use them for that. In 1v1 duels, I've also seen the other person use them as impromptu air-to-air missiles, just to spam in head-ons. So yeah, if you have any further questions, please comment below and I'll try and answer them to the best of my ability. This is my first review and first quite rather long video, to be fair, so I apologise if there's like some inconsistencies with like my cadence and if there were any inaccuracies in this review. And if you want any other aircraft to be reviewed, then leave them in the comments and I'll have a look at them. So yeah, all that's left is to say, if you found this review helpful, please like it, and subscribe, because I hope to make more of these reviews in the future. I've got a couple of ideas lined up. And yeah, thank you everyone for watching.